everyone. I'm Angela Britcher from the BAB Group. Welcome to this edition of the Digital EDU Dialogues podcast. Joining me today are Dr. Eboni Mathis and her dog Duke, who will be just an extra special part of our podcast today. Eboni, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Duke and I are really happy to be here. We, as you haven't figured out, we're inseparable. He is my colleague, so whenever I'm grading or doing anything in higher ed, Duty Boots is right here with me. So
I think a lot of us can relate to that. We like to have our pets with us and I know for me, my students love, whether they're online or in person, they love knowing that I am working with animals as well.
Yes, I actually have students tell me often, can you please bring him to class? And I say, well, until there's a policy allowing pets in the classroom, unfortunately, you'll have to see him on Zoom.
Oh, I love that. All right, well, Eboni, start by telling us a little bit about your experience with faculty development.
I've served in various capacities in the past, in my current experiences where I have had to train faculty. I served as a mentor many years ago. I've served as a director of online education, so I would put out various trainings and help onboard new faculty members. And in my current role, whenever I need to hire an adjunct to either teach or develop, I serve in that capacity. Oh, Duke likes hearing your dog.
Dog cast today.
Right.
And I mean, one of the things that you and I talked about that I think is really at the heart of faculty training, we are going to talk a little bit in this podcast about some things that should be part of faculty trainings and what faculty hope to get out of faculty trainings. But at the heart of it is really student success, is training our faculty so that students can be more successful. So could you talk a little bit more about that idea that faculty development translates to student success and retention?
Yes, the more informed, the more engaged and knowledgeable faculty is, the more you can expect to see some student success outcomes as well as retention. Retention is everybody's business, but it absolutely is a faculty member's business to be concerned with how well a student is doing in your classroom, and helping to retain those students, because we all sign up to teach so that we can make a difference in the lives of our students. And so that's one way we definitely make a difference, is to ensure that we are facilitating in a way and providing a welcoming environment for our students to be successful. And so if they're successful, then that leads to us being able to retain those students. And so it starts with us in terms of, again, being aware, being engaged, understanding what's happening on the college campus. Even if you're an adjunct, understanding the school's mission is important, especially if you're working for an institution that's mission driven, because you'll start to, once you're, engaged with the mission, you'll start to live that mission in your classroom. And then you can inspire your students to live that mission. And so, again, that leads to student success. It helps students be connected. And if we're connected, then we can pass some of that along to our students.
I agree. I think it's so important as an adjunct. And so often I'm teaching first-term students, or I also teach a lot of dual enrolled high school students. So we don't want to just retain them, we want to enroll them. And so giving them that positive first experience and first impression of the school is so important. And as an adjunct, again, being able to receive that as part of faculty training, that institutional knowledge, and that, I'm a salesperson, I'm an ambassador for the university. So receiving that in faculty training, I think, is just such an important and key piece of that.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so we are going to take a 30-second break. And when we come back, we are going to talk more about what should be included in faculty trainings and development.
Today's episode is brought to you by Professor Services. Looking for a job in teaching? Need to expand your network? Want to boost your income? Whatever it is, the expert team at Professor Services has you covered. From helping higher ed faculty find new jobs, to essential tools such as cover letters and CVs, to applying to jobs for you, Professor Services equips you to nail your job search. Don't stress over the job hunt. Maximize your potential and crush your next opportunity with support from our team of experienced administrators, mentors, and educators. Discover how the team at Professor Services can help. Visit professorservices.com today to get started and kickstart your career in higher education.
All right, I'm back with Dr. Eboni Mathis, and we're talking about faculty training and development. And we're going to move into talking about what kinds of things should be included in trainings for faculty. And let's start with orienting new faculty. So whether they're new to the school or new faculty in general, what are some of the things that you think are important?
It's important to understand what's happening at that institution, what's going on in the day in the life of being someone who works there. So even if it's just activities that students are engaged with, but just having a sense, because oftentimes who's in your classroom are not just those adult learners who are at a distance away from campus, but you also have on-ground students in your classes as well. And they may be involved in sports. They may be involved in, some of the more liberal arts type classes, drama class, and they may be going on a trip or they have a game happening. And so it would be, kind of nice to know, what's happening, for students. And that's another piece to student success and retention, to be able to either speak to that. Hey, Johnny, I noticed you were away at a baseball game, or we have a big baseball game. And I know you wrote in your introduction that you play, on the university's baseball team, and, and just giving them some encouragement that way. So just definitely knowing what's going on is good. I've been in, many like self-paced trainings where it may, teach you about certain things, but that's it. But there's really nothing that really connects you to that institution. Community is important. So understanding who some of the other faculty members are, who are the administrators, what are their roles, what can they, help us with in terms of coming on board. And sorry about that. My dog heard someone I have working in my home. So sorry about that. But just, having an understanding as to what's going on that campus can be helpful.
I want to say I love that part, because I have been an adjunct where I call it the treasure hunt. All of a sudden I need something and I don't even know who to ask to find it, right? I'm concerned about a student and they haven't participated in class in 2 weeks and I don't know where to go. I have to go through the treasure hunt of asking people where to go to find the form to send them to student success or to talk to their advisor. So I think that is such a crucial piece that would be really helpful as part of faculty training and development, to know who to talk to.
And definitely knowing who the advisors are, because I do believe that faculty and the advising staff, or whoever is in charge of student success and retention and making sure students are taken care of on that side of the house when they leave our classes, would be key if there was, just more interaction with the advising team so that we can work together to support students and their needs.
Go ahead.
That I didn't touch on for faculty development is just more awareness as to how the curriculum was put together. You have instructional designers, and a lot of times the classes are already prepared. And so as an adjunct, you're coming right in and you're teaching what someone else thought through, which is fine, because many of us, appreciate having a class that we can just step into and go. But sometimes there's some confusion around that curriculum. There may be an answer key that's missing. You may get questions from students, and you really don't know what was the thinking behind a particular class. So it would be nice to either have more interaction with instructional designers who created those classes that you're teaching, or provide more resources around how to support students to that curriculum.
I completely agree. As an instructional designer, I have designed those classes for other people. And then I've also been the faculty that's teaching a class that someone else designed. And once I became the faculty member, it really informed my instructional design. I need to give this faculty person, I need to give whoever's going to teach this class way more resources so they understand why things are the way that they are. So I have been on both sides of that equation and definitely think we can do more to support our faculty. Let's talk a little bit about helping face-to-face faculty get oriented to an online environment.
Well, certainly, providing training around, what students who take online education, especially asynchronous courses, what they expect, because sometimes what I've seen in the past is in on ground from faculty members I've mentored, they bring that on ground sense to the online classroom. And so there should be some training around the different modalities, understanding that there's a hybrid class where there may be online and some face-to-face. And so you need to have assignments and lectures that speak to that modality. Then there's the asynchronous, where it's 100% online, where there's no interaction at all face-to-face on the campus. And then the synchronous virtual environment, where it's online, but there may be some required live lectures. And so sometimes I often see the mistake where faculty members will think that they can mix the modalities, and it's confusing to students, because if they know they signed up for 100% online class, then that's what they are going to expect. And so when you start requiring meetups, if you will, or live lectures, then now that pretty much goes against what they had in mind for their schedule in their life. Even if you're making it optional meetings, you got to be careful with that too, because even when it's optional, non-graded, students will still feel at a disadvantage, and they will perceive that as, okay, other students who can make these time slots, they're getting what they need, whereas I'm not. And so even though I'm not being penalized for not being there, to me, it just doesn't send the right message. So, you should keep office hours strictly as what they are, office hours. But once you start, basically promoting it as, you should come to this. Oh, even though I'm not penalizing you, you should come. Again, that just sends the wrong message. So I think on-ground faculty members should definitely take notice that when you teach online, it's a completely different animal. There's far more grading in most cases, because you don't have that face-to-face interaction. You must be present in discussion forums. So I always say, when I would mentor or train faculty, I always say the core 5 requirements. So I'm sorry, the core 4. I had the core 4 requirements, where announcements every week as much as possible to communicate, being extremely active in the discussion forums, not to overbear the discussion and overstep students, but to be out there with them, facilitating at least 5 days a week, grading by, in most cases by, day 2 of after the due date, and checking email. Those are pretty much the core 4 critical pieces. Certainly there's other things that you should be doing, but when you're teaching online, those core 4 requirements is critical to student success and faculty success. Because if I'm an administrator, or if I'm a dean, or, if it's within my leadership to observe a faculty member and I don't see at least the core 4, then I'm going to wonder what's been happening in that classroom. And so I was always trained in online education. I've been teaching for 21 years online. I was always trained with the mentality that you always want to have a foot presence, foot traffic in your class. Not like if a total stranger came into your class, they should see you everywhere as the faculty member. They should see you in the announcements. They should see you in the discussion forums. They should see your grades. They should be able to see and know who the faculty member is. And I've gone in some online classes where I had no clue who was teaching the class. And I would purposely not tell myself, or Dr. So-and-so is teaching this class. I would not, tell myself that. And I'd go into that classroom and I'm like, okay, I need to see who the professor is. I don't see it yet. And so keeping that in mind, that you should be very, very present and visible. So
the core 4, what great advice, that those 4 steps, and how practical those 4 steps are for us faculty. And for me, I know my presence with students is my number one thing, because then I know they're going to feel comfortable coming to me with their questions and asking for help, or if they're, if they don't like their grade, to say, hey, what can I do to improve this? That I'm open and available for communication. And I think those core 4 really speak to that presence in the classroom. Those are great practical ideas. All right, so we're going to take another 30-second break. And when we come back, Ebony and I are going to talk about what faculty want out of their trainings and some ideas for how to implement that.
This episode of DigitalEDU Dialogues is brought to you by the BAB Group. The demands for teaching and online learning are constantly evolving. Don't get left behind. Carve out a competitive edge and give students engaging learning experiences with support from the BAB Group's team of course design experts. As experienced online faculty and instructional designers, the BAB Group knows how to craft those aha moments for students and meet outcomes for every modality, online, hybrid, and face-to-face, creating engaging, welcoming, and inclusive learning spaces for students of all ages and abilities has never been more important. Discover how the BAB Group can help you by visiting their website today.
Hi, I'm Angela Bridger, and I'm back with Dr. Eboni Mathis, and we are talking about faculty development. Ebony, what is it that faculty want from their online faculty training and development?
Well, they definitely want to know how much and how often they will be teaching. So
I feel like that's elusive, but yes, we do.
There's so much, ambiguity around that area because, if you're scheduling these classes, you don't know what the enrollment is going to be. But, you could look at some past trends. Okay, if you knew last fall you had 800 students enrolled and how many sections you needed, so you have an idea, rough estimate. So I always say if you could at least provide something that speaks to how much faculty will be teaching, also having a seamless scheduling process. I've seen it work so many different ways where, I've seen it where you had to fill something out to say when you can teach, or I've seen it where, you knew months in advance. So the more, you can provide some kind of awareness around how much that's going to be, that would be awesome. Any perks or benefits that adjuncts or part-time faculty will receive, certainly have that information readily available in the training. Definitely training on the LMS, making sure that they, understand how to navigate things, which many of the faculty members that you will hire have taught other places. And so they have years of experience. Also, I think institutions should be mindful that, if you have someone who's been teaching 20 years, you may not want to put that person in a training that would probably be for a faculty member who's never taught before. Mm-hmm. I think that you could drill that down and maybe just have like some short trainings for that more seasoned person, or also even allowing the more seasoned new person to help facilitate the training classes. Mm-hmm. Allow them to maybe train some of the newer faculty members. That way they're still in it, but they're not feeling like they're having to learn things that they've been doing for 20 years already. That could be an approach. So many faculty members, especially when they're new, they're willing to do pretty much anything to, meet the need or to satisfy the requirements to teach at that institution. But if you could just be a little bit more mindful and find opportunities to engage some of the more seasoned faculty members, that would be great. And I think they also want, relationships too. They want relationships with the institution. So, maybe, I know everybody's busy, but maybe some one-on-ones where it's not about to tell them how to improve, but just to build a relationship with that faculty member. Just checking in. Is everything cool? If you want to meet up with me, if you're an administrator, let's get together. And so I think community is definitely important.
That's something that I really appreciate as an adjunct. I have one of my schools, we meet once a semester to just touch base about what's coming up, and also just, hi, hello, how are you? And share ideas. I have another group of adjuncts that we all work at the same institution. And again, once a semester, we try and get together for lunch or coffee to just, again, socialize and say hello, share ideas, share what's going on with students in a way that's like, hey, have you had this before? What are your ideas or thoughts? Or have you done this assignment before? So I think sharing that community and feeling like you're not alone, especially when you're an adjunct and you're working online, can really be helpful.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what we should consider when we are designing faculty trainings.
Keep them short. Keep them fun. And again, you have these faculty members who come with so much experience, so many credentials. Tap into that from, the talent pool that you have. Allow it to be some peer-to-peer learning, allow them to be involved with setting up the training and delivering it. And to me, that all builds that connection, helping people stay connected and helping it make fun, allowing it to be fun for them as well. Because they know exactly what they're facing in the classroom, and so they can help another faculty member. So definitely more of that peer-to-peer learning opportunity could be helpful when it comes to the training and how to deliver it.
When you and I spoke earlier, we talked a little about micro-credentials. Could you talk a little about that, the idea of kind of micro-credentialing faculty development?
Yeah, so I know that's really a hot stove topic for a number of institutions where you're not actually going for a full degree or a full certificate, but you're allowing people to micro-credential and get a badge in a particular skill set or knowledge area is what we're doing for students. So we could turn around and do the same for faculty members, allow them to earn badges. And it really works well for those newer faculty members as well, who are looking to increase their knowledge base and their expertise and their skill in teaching and developing. So if you have some, faculty members who has never did any instructional design work, well, here's an opportunity to allow them to micro-credential. It could be even with this training that you deliver to other faculty members, but allowing them again to be a part of how to develop and how to deliver. And by the way, they get a micro-credential for doing so. And it will just help their overall professional development if they want to go and teach or develop courses for another institution, especially in this world of part-time or adjunct where, that's what people are doing to make a living. They're working at other places. And so if they are able to get those micro-credentials, it'll help them on their resume and their professional development.
Completely agree. When we're doing work with our partner company, Professor Services, that's something we really encourage people is any credentialing you have in online teaching to add that to your LinkedIn, to add that to your CV. And one of my schools that actually does have a credentialing program for its instructors, they encourage us, put that out there to everyone. We want people to know not only as our professional development, but they want students to know, we're hiring adjuncts that are, have this professional credential to be part of our teaching staff. All right, Eboni, any final thoughts on faculty development?
I would just say it's definitely needed. So, for institutions to offer faculty development, I think that's great. And I think faculty members, they do appreciate having the opportunities available. And so make some optional, make some required, but just make them meaningful.
Make them meaningful. Eboni, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about faculty training and development.
Thank you so much for having me, and take care of your baby, your fur baby over there.
You too. We look forward to seeing Duke again sometime soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
The Digital EDU Dialogues podcast is brought to you by the Edusity family of companies.